Hello, I'm in Niagara Falls today on my way to Chippawa, and when I come through here there's so many cars, so many pedestrians. Yeah, but the view is worth it. Well, I'm gonna stand up for this. Niagara Falls and Chippawa, part of the city of Niagara Falls, is 2 kilometers up the river. Look at all these people. The difference between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario is about 99 meters, and the height of Niagara Falls is 52. And that's kind of... that's how Chippawa became to be, really. These are the waters just above Niagara Falls. The settlement of Chippawa became village of Chippawa in 1850. And since 1970, it is a neighborhood of city of Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. And this is the Welland River. I'm gonna go over the bridge. Used to be called Chippawa Creek, but over 200 years ago, Governor Simcoe came in and called it Welland River. Kids are jumping over the bridge. And yeah, over 200 years, and locals still call it Chippawa Creek because, you know, old habits. After the American Revolution, the British had a problem. Well, more than one. All the cargo, all the freight was coming down, well, back and forth from the Great Lake region, was being portaged on the side that America took over, the eastern side of Niagara River. And after the American independence, the British had to find a way to do it on this side of the river. And Chippawa was a perfect place. Lake-going ships would enter this little town. Lake-going ships would enter the Welland River, would unload, and wagons, Conestoga wagons, would take the freight down to Queenston, where they would be on ships that would take the freight, the cargo, all the way across the ocean. When the portage was done on the American side, the ships would navigate around Glen Island to the east of it, through the American Channel, unload by the bridge. Wagons would take it down towards Lewiston. And that was going on till Americans built Erie Canal. And Erie Canal was the canal for barges, not for ships. All the goods were loaded on barges in Buffalo and would go down Erie Canal, then Hudson River to New York City. And this is where the Battle of Chippawa took place, 4th, 5th of July, 1814, obviously during the War of 1812. And the British lost. Americans ran out of blue dye for the uniforms, and most of Americans were wearing gray uniforms. And the British assumed that they're fighting militia, poorly trained militia, and they're actually very highly trained Americans. And underestimating your enemy costs, right? So the British lost. And right across is Navy Island. It's interesting, you cannot access Navy Island. It's part of Niagara Parks, but you have to ask for a permit. There's a dock, but you cannot approach it. Navy Island was, there used to be shipyard, farms, Queen's Hotel till it burned down, so you could go to it. And the most interesting thing about that is, I'll tell you when we get to Chippawa. Ships coming in from the lakes would enter Welland River here. There was a bridge nearby, but it's been destroyed since. King's Bridge doesn't exist anymore. So all this was used for portage. Wagons would take the goods to Queenston. And when the first Welland Canal was built, that was part of it. Welland Canal would only run to Port Robinson. Ships would enter Welland River in Port Robinson and would come out here. It proved to be a little pain in the butt because obviously the river is rapid and problems. So anyway, Welland Canal was built to go all the way to Port Colborne, but still, for about 100 years, ships would use this. I overshot my street. That's alright. Ships were still joining the Welland Canal in Port Robinson via Welland River. Imagine a ship from Buffalo, instead of going all the way to Port Colborne, taking 24 hours to go down Welland Canal, would just sail here, go up Welland River, and would enter in Port Robinson, saving time, money, I suppose. This is Boating Club, and this is Lions Creek that joins the Niagara River. Lions Creek joins Welland River there, and Niagara River through Welland River, obviously. This whole area was inhabited by native Canadian tribe people. They call them neutrals. Nobody knows what language they spoke, what culture they had. And they called them neutrals because they did not get involved in any wars between Hurons and Iroquois. And they're exterminated, thus, by the Iroquois. And after this land was emptied, am I supposed to stop? Nope. After this land was emptied out, Iroquois didn't want it. And Chippawa, or Ojibwe, moved in. See how close I can get to the... very close. Hello. When the British lost the eastern shore of Niagara River, they needed to do something about it, about the portage situation. So they made a deal. They made a treaty with the Chippawa people, and they bought land 1 mile from the shores of Niagara River west, and that strip was used for portage. When you go through Niagara Falls and you see Portage Road, that's where the actual wagons were moving with all the goods. An interesting company was established here. Railroad company, I would call it, maybe. A ship from Buffalo, a steamship, would bring passengers here to Chippawa. They would get onto train car that was being pulled by 3 horses, and the rails were made out of wood braced with metal. I cannot even imagine what it looked like, to be honest with you. And the way it was constructed, it could not be used in the wintertime. It would just freeze and be slippery. So you would get on a ship in Buffalo, get on a car here, and you would get on another steamboat in Queenston, and you would go to Toronto. That was the whole. Well, it did save some time, the voyage. Laura Seacourt, the American-born loyalist who warned the British of what kind of animal was this? British of coming Americans during the War of 1812, moved here, and that's where she died. And also, James Cameron, the famous movie director, grew up here and went to school here. And if you don't mention it, you get in trouble. Hey, let's cross Welland River again. The last thing I wanted to talk about is Navy Island. Navy Island, not restricted access, uninhabited today, was the home of the Republic of Canada. There was a rebellion led by William Lyon Mackenzie. 2 years earlier, in 1835, he became the first mayor of Toronto, after York became Toronto. William Lionel Mackenzie left with his rebels, left Toronto and moved to Navy Island. Population grew to 600, mostly American volunteers who still had issues with the crown, and they were supplied by a steamboat, Caroline. And in December 28th, 1837, the British crossed the river into the States, Fort Schloss, where Caroline was moored. 2 Americans were dead after the attack. Then the British captured the boat, set it afire, and sent it down the Niagara River. And as it went over the falls, another American died. If you ever come to Niagara Falls, this is not that far. As you can see, the falls are right there, 2 kilometers down the river from us. If you ever come here, this is a nice area to visit. It doesn't take long. You can park, walk around. So that's the bridge onto Grand Island there, and just before that, Navy Island, and Fort Schlosser was there, just where the bridge is.